Hey, so today we're going to talk about coagulation. And it is one of the cool things that your blood and body can perform to help you. Bleeding is the loss of blood. I'm sure you've all bled before, from small injuries to hopefully not bad injuries, but bleeding can occur inside your body internally or outside of the body externally. And a copious amount of blood, that means a lot of blood. If you lose a lot of blood, that's known as a hemorrhage. In order to control bleeding, the body uses a process called coagulation. Coagulation is the process of using clots to repair holes in blood vessels in order to prevent further blood loss. Reducing or stopping the flow of blood. The first thing the body does in response to an injury of a blood vessel is to reduce or stop the flow of blood. Injured blood vessels will constrict, and that is known as vasoconstriction. Vaso, think of vessel, blood vessel, constricting. Blood that has escaped into the tissues will increase the outside pressure of the blood vessel. The accumulation of blood in the tissues is called a hematoma or bruise. If the injured artery is too large, the body may require assistance in slowing the flow of blood. This can be accomplished by applying pressure to the wound with a hand or bandage. Within the blood, there are also two systems that act together to control bleeding: platelets and clotting proteins. Platelets, or thrombocytes, are cytoplasmic fragments of large cells that maintain the endothelium. Endothelium is the most inner layer of the blood vessel. It is a single layer of cells that line the entire cardiovascular system. The endothelium cells help keep blood from seeping outside the blood vessels. Platelets do not stick to normal endothelium. Underneath the endothelium is a layer of connective tissue known as collagen. Collagen acts as a foreign surface and stimulates the activation of platelets when the endothelium is damaged. You can see that here. Therefore, the platelets will then adhere to the damaged lining. It will glue itself. Rapidly, the platelets seal the break in the vessel wall by forming a platelet plug. Like it plugs up the hole. And that stops the bleeding. Platelets and the injured tissues then release chemicals known as coagulation activators, which then trigger the clotting proteins. Although the platelets are able to plug the hole, it will soon fail unless it is strengthened by clotting proteins. And there are 13 clotting proteins in the blood. They're designated by the Roman numerals 1 through 13, 13 being X, I. And once activated, the 13 clotting proteins are switched on in a specific order known as the coagulation cascade. And the coagulation cascade is a complex series of enzymatic reactions that work to form a clot. At the end of the coagulation cascade, fibrinogen, a clotting protein used during coagulation, is converted to fibrin. Fibrin acts as a web, and it interlaces strands that trap these cells and platelets, forming a blood clot. It's like a spider web of fibers in your body. And the blood clot supports and then reinforces the platelet plug. So you've now strengthened the plug that has stopped the bleeding. The blood clot formed by fibrin is a temporary way to repair the blood vessel. After the body has time to heal the blood vessel, the blood clot is no longer needed. Therefore, a plasma enzyme called plasmin destroys fibrin and restores the fluidity of plasma. This process is known as the fibrinolytic system or anti-clotting system. Sometimes excessive amounts of clotting can occur, and that obstructs the flow of blood within the circulatory system. A blood clot that obstructs a blood vessel is called a thrombus. Thrombi, which is the plural form, can be very harmful. Thrombi formed in the coronary arteries may cause heart attacks. A heart attack is when a portion of the heart no longer receives blood, so the heart cells begin to die. Thrombi formed in blood vessels that serve the brain may cause strokes. A stroke is when a portion of the brain no longer receives blood, so the brain cells begin to die. Sometimes the thrombus or part of the thrombus can break away from the formation site. This is called an embolus. For example, a thrombus may form in the vein of the leg and then travel as an emboli to the lungs, emboli. An embolus that lodges in the lungs is called a pulmonary embolism. Emboli can cause damaging obstructions, strokes, or even death. Individuals with a history of heart attack, stroke, or pulmonary embolism are often given anticoagulants or blood thinners. However, blood thinners do not actually thin the blood. Instead, they work by reducing the clotting tendencies of the platelets or clotting proteins. When an injury occurs to the blood vessels, coagulation occurs to control the bleeding. A summary of coagulation: an injury to the blood vessel, reduced blood flow by vasoconstriction, and the formation of hematoma. Platelet plug forms and stops bleeding. Coagulation activators stimulate the clotting proteins. Coagulation cascade occurs. Fibrinogen is converted to fibrin. Fibrin develops into a blood clot. And fibrinolytic system or anti-coagulation system is initiated when the blood clot is no longer needed. And that's it for coagulation. So remember, it's a temporary measure to repair blood vessels. Okay, and then once it's all done, they have anticoagulation systems to get rid of the mess. But until next time, have a great day/week, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.